is a community? Well, the dictionary tells us that it is a group of people who are connected by durable relations that expand beyond immediate genealogical ties, and who usually define that relationship as important to their social identity and practice. Well, is that so? Let me ask you a question. Let's say you're now in a situation of talking to a stranger you meet in the elevator. You press the button, and to make the situation less awkward, you started up a conversation. I see you're from Jing High School, huh? Yeah. Is the food good there? No. That's great. That was me. And that guy turned out to be my next door neighbor. I swear to God, I thought that house has been empty for years. I mean, seriously. The new generation now seems to have lost their capability of communicating with people face to face. And the concept of community doesn't seem to fit into our daily lives anymore. According to studyfinds.org, 7 in 10 millennials prefer to communicate to people digitally than in person. In general, young people just don't feel comfortable forming connections with real people. So why is all of this happening? And what is the core of the problem? Let's start simpler. Last September, my summer school required me to hand in a 5-minute video recording a heritage around me. So I uploaded a video about our school's bell tower, which got 1,900 views and 79 likes. Now that number was enormous for me. And that was all I really cared about back then, numbers. Later on, I found out something that totally changed my point of view. Some graduates from my school came to me after they saw the video. They said they liked it and that it reminded them of their days at school. I suddenly realized that I appreciated this link between them and me more than the rising numbers of viewers. It has led me into realizing that our world isn't made up of algorithms or numbers. Instead, it consists of real human beings. And for all these times, I have been attached to too few of them. Connections are only formed online, as if we have become slaves to the virtual world. Imagine, if all of us are being deprived from the reality, what will really happen? Sadly, it turns out that few of these bonds really come to the real world. I spend about 5 to 6 hours every weekend socially online, and according to Bilibili official, until 2021, 10 billion bullet comments, interactive comments, have been accumulated. These numbers all show how much people really devote to the virtual world and how deep they bury themselves into their comfort zone and spin it off from the reality. See, this is where the problem is. Just like what famous Chinese anthropologist Xiao Biao said, our society now faces the problem of access and functionality, but insufficiency and ideological fragmentation. Now, let me explain this to you. Functionality in this sentence refers to the efficiency we have and the convenience we gain every day. On the other hand, ideological fragmentation seems to be a big word, but when we break it down, it simply means a variety of things combined into one system, and these things do not have to serve for specific purposes. It kind of resembles an ecosystem. Different things may accompany or contradict each other, but they all coexist in one single society. For instance, a large supermarket may be a good example of functionality. People head there only for buying things, and they have clear purposes in their heads of whatever they want to purchase. However, small stores, on the other hand, it's somewhat different. People do not certainly have to look for specific items. In fact, many of them just choose to go there, chat with the shopkeeper, walk around, or simply enjoy their time. See, this is ideological fragmentation. It is the opposite of functionality. People really have the chance to stop caring about the efficiency and convenience in life, but instead focus on getting along with other people and perhaps the society. So, how can we solve this problem? How can we maintain enough ideological fragmentation so that it balances with the functionality we have today? Well, according to Xiangbiao, we need to retain the initial 500 meters around us, meaning that starting from yourself, get to know people in 500 meters around you. Now people may have questions. But Mr. Xiang, there are no people in 500 meters around me, because that's exactly how Chinese societies function right now. Few people really have the time to slow down and chat with the one near them. If there is, well, that must be those aunties doing their daily square dancing and shooing you from 500 meters away. Just kidding. But honestly, Xiangbiao, as an anthropologist, only focused on observing and bringing up the theory, not actually doing it. He's kind of like a military advisor. So I started looking for a warrior, one that would actually fight in a war. At the beginning of this year, my friends and I signed up for a program named China Thinks Big, which is a competition that requires Chinese students to do self-research on self-chosen topics. We did loads of research on anthropology and human connections. And eventually, I was led to a man called Agan, a former architect. What he is doing now is this thing called community making. Basically, this guy creates spaces that serves for the need of the initial 500 meters. He set up an association named the BCMA, Bamboo Community Mutual Association, aiming to form connections with the residents through activities or clubs. To see how this worked out, I paid a community a visit, and the result really blew my mind. In Bamboo Community, there is a laundry room, a grocery shop, 2 libraries, and even art exhibitions. These facilities allowed residents to meet each other and form connections. See, this is the true resolution to ideological fragmentation. Still, the majority of Agan's work focused on his creation of different activities. The one that impressed me most was called Junior Architect, when a group of children designed a corridor entirely on their own. Children counseling, cycling races, anti-poverty, flea markets, community salads, activities so varied that you have never imagined before. Basically, there's everything you're looking for. However, before 2010 BCMA was set up, none of this really existed. Later, when we conducted a survey on the local residents, we found out that 70% of the children have been to at least one of these activities, and that 100% of the residents think that they have some degree of influence on their connections with other people. And then I realized that's what we need to do right now. We need to form a BCMA of our own. It doesn't have to be as sophisticated as the one in Bamboo Community, but it requires our effort. To start, we need to make community making widely known, which requires publicity. Therefore, we made our survey result into another video. This time hope for real influence instead of the numbers of viewers who subscribe. We can also make speeches, just like what I am doing now. We can encourage local residents to join in small activities or clubs who can do something with our own strength. Arrange group activities or neighbor meetings. Choose a leader or even a council. And this brings me to the end of my speech. My research on this topic is indeed a long run, but as I dug deeper into the concept of the initial 500 meters and community making, I realized that I started to see more. I started to see the distance between you and me. I started to see the consequences of access and functionality. I started to see that as a society, our balance is lopsided, and we don't want that. Just like what famous architect Charles Eames said, eventually everything connects. People, ideas, objects. The quality to connection is the key to quality perceived. When we put it into a society, it also fits. When a community is well connected, it functions as a balanced one. We often forget that we're humans, and humans don't seek the virtual world as homecoming. That is for outermost. Remember, the world is big enough to contain more 500 meters than we ever imagined.